There's a place in the woods where the birds go quiet and nobody's exactly sure why. What did they hide in this forest and mark with a headstone? And what's buried 20 miles from Chicago where families come and eat lunch? And why does it say there's no danger to visitors? No fence, no visitor center, just a stone in the woods the shape of a grave. This is Redgate Woods, part of the Palos Preserves southwest of the city of Chicago. On paper, it's a conservation success story. The county's been pouring money into restoring it, pulling out invasive honeysuckle, bringing back the oak savanna, the native ground layer, the birds. It works. It's genuinely lovely. You could spend a whole day here and leave thinking you'd seen nothing but woods. But this forest had other names. During the war, the people who leased this land called it Argonne, after a forest in France where a generation of men died in 1918. Before that, the locals had a softer name for the spot, because there used to be a golf course here. They called it the Country Club. The Country Club, that's a strange name, because for about 10 years, behind a fence with armed guard, the Country Club was running nuclear reactors, and almost nobody who lived in the area knew about it. To understand how the atomic age ended up buried under a picnic ground, you have to go back to where it started, which is somehow even stranger. December 2nd, 1942, under the stands of a football stadium in the middle of a city of 3 million people, a team of physicists was about to light a fire that had never burned on this planet before. They built it in a squash court with hundreds of tons of graphite bricks, salted with uranium, and with control rods made of cadmium that could be pulled out by hand or with a rope. The project was led by Enrico Fermi, and they called it Chicago Pile 1. And this is the part that should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. There was no radiation shield. There was no containment of any kind, no cooling system. So the only thing standing between a nuclear disaster and the south side of Chicago was a man with an axe ready to drop an emergency rod into the core at any given time. It didn't run away. At 3:25 in the afternoon, the world's first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction came to life under that stadium. And the men who made it happen understood exactly what they'd done. The coded phone call that went east to report it said, more or less, that the Italian navigator had landed in the New World. The New World was this one, the one with the bomb in it. But you can't keep an experimental reactor running in the basement of a university in the middle of a large city. They knew it was reckless, so they went looking for a place to move the Manhattan Project. Somewhere close enough to the city where scientists could commute, but far enough away that it wouldn't take a city with it if something went wrong. So they found a forest preserve, a leased golf course in the Palos Woods. They called it Argonne, and they brought the fire there. In 1943, they shut down Chicago Pile 1. They took it apart, and they moved it out to the woods. They rebuilt it here. They made it bigger, more powerful, and this time, mercifully, with a shield around it. And they called it CP2. Then they built a second reactor right next to it, CP3, the world's first reactor cooled by heavy water. It came alive in 1944. And it was originally designed to breed plutonium, the other half of the bomb. Army military police guarded the perimeter. Local residents would say later that they remembered the soldiers, the fences, and the sense that something was going on out in those woods. But they were told nothing, and they wouldn't learn the truth until long after the war was over. And thus, this was the birthplace of Argonne National Laboratory. This forest preserve became the cradle of one of the most important scientific institutions in the country. For about a decade, behind the trees, scientists ran nuclear reactors, chased the physics of the atomic age, and dealt with their garbage the way everyone dealt with garbage in the 1940s. They dug a hole and threw it in, and they gave the dump a code name, Plot M. For 6 years, a decade's worth of nuclear waste went into the ground at Plot M. Low-level radioactive materials, scraps, contaminated equipment, and, from the records, animal carcasses used in experiments. First, into open trenches. Later, when standards tightened, into steel bins. Uranium, tritium, fission products, buried in a forest preserve just a few feet under the leaf litter. In 1954, the lab had outgrown the woods, and Argonne got a permanent home out in DuPage County, which left a very modern question, perhaps asked for the first time in history. What do you do with 2 worn-out nuclear reactors sitting in a public park? They took the fuel out of the reactors and shipped it with the heavy water coolant to Oak Ridge in Tennessee. And then with what was left, the massive concrete shields, the buildings, the reactor cores, they did something that's almost mythic with how blunt it is. They packed it with explosives and they blew the concrete apart. They pushed the world's first nuclear reactor into a 40-foot trench, and then they sealed it over. And now, today, the top of CP3's shield is approximately 23 feet below the surface. They tore down the buildings and buried those too. They capped the waste dump under a foot-thick concrete box to keep the rainwater out. They spread soil over all of it, seeded it with grass, and in 1956, they handed it back to the people of Cook County as a forest preserve, like nothing ever happened. And the forest did what forests do. It came back over the trenches, over the buried box, over the nuclear reactors. And within a generation, you'd hardly even know it was here. You're standing in the birthplace of the atomic age, and you're hearing nothing but birds. And that was the whole story for a while. It was buried, it was seeded and forgotten. That is, until the ground started talking. In the 1980s, the country started finding contamination at old nuclear sites everywhere, and people who lived near the Palos Woods began to ask an obvious question. What exactly is buried out there? So, the state sent an inspection team into Site A to look around. And what they found was a pellet of uranium, just lying in the woods. That set off the alarm. They looked harder, and they found more. Graphite blocks, metal scraps from the reactors. In the sediment area near the old dump, traces of strontium-90. And in the wells near the picnic area, the wells, they found tritium. The buried waste was leaking, slowly, into the groundwater of a place where families came to eat lunch. And here's where the government made the call that defines this place. They studied it, and they decided that digging it all back up, disturbing it, trucking the world's first reactor out through the suburbs was more dangerous than leaving it exactly where it was. So they didn't move it. They monitor it. Every year, someone comes out to these woods and checks on the buried fire just to make sure it's staying put. We took the single most dangerous object of the 20th century and we blew it apart. We pushed it in a hole and planted grass. And within a single human lifetime, what it became was so peaceful that families could picnic on top of it without ever knowing it. We're the ones who buried it and walked away and decided that a rock the size of a headstone was enough to carry the warning after everyone who remembers is dead. But there's no danger to visitors. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true as long as the concrete holds and as long as someone keeps coming out to check on it. One day, all that will be left standing between a picnic ground and the thing buried beneath it is a single sentence urging the reader not to dig. I hope you found this interesting. Follow along for more, and we'll see you out there. And hey, real quick, if you're still here, I really appreciate you. And if you want to support what I do, you can do so on Patreon. Check out the description below for more details on that. Thank you very much for watching.